Hello, my name is Moose, and I kinda love the Transformers movies. Okay, I love the first one, but honestly, even the sequels never really offended me the way they did most trans fans, except for, you know, all the actually offensive stuff in them.
What are we gonna do with this shrimp taco?
No, just put a cap in his ass, throw him in the truck, and then nobody gonna know nothing, not me.
Yeah, not in my trunk.
Yo, bumper cars, check it out. I'm hearing you, okay? I'm right here, and I can hear you.
The upcoming release of Bumblebee looks like it's righting some of the wrongs that Michael Bay has wrought, but even with his baggage, I've always found the series at least watchable. So today, I'm gonna plead their case and offer a few points in defense of Bayformers. Let's start with the MVP of the entire franchise, Peter Cullen. When I first heard that Michael Bay was behind a big budget Transformers movie, my immediate reaction was, oh God, who are they gonna get to play Prime? We all know that Hollywood loves paying trendy celebs way too much money to sit in a recording booth and sleepwalk their way to a big paycheck.
My uncle, who was a wizard, gave me this place as my private study.
Instead of hiring the pro voice actors who are busting their butts day in and day out in TV and video games. Initially, I thought Transformers would be no different. I ran through all sorts of scenarios in my head. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Brad Pitt, or my biggest fear, Optimus Prime is Justin Timberlake. I mean, in a world where Joseph Gordon-Levitt can play Cobra Commander, anything is possible. But some performances are so iconic, so intrinsically tied to a character, it's inconceivable to imagine anyone else playing them, like Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime. Optimus has been played by others in the past, but no one's even come close to Cullen's booming baritone.
I remember the time on Cybertron. Save the war stories, hotshot. Just remember, there's a thin line between being a hero and being a memory.
So you can imagine my surprise and relief when they announced that Peter would indeed reprise the role for the movie and all of its sequels. Coming off of a 19-year absence, Cullen absolutely crushed it. And in a movie that's such a drastic departure from the Transformers look and lore, his presence is an important link to the past for old fans.
My name is Optimus Prime. We are autonomous robotic organisms from the planet Cybertron. But you can call us Autobots for short.
Autobots.
I do wish the same could be said for Megatron, but instead of hiring living legend Frank Welker,
No! I'll crush you with my bare hands!
they went with Hugo Weaving instead, who brought pretty much nothing to the role and left after the third movie.
Thank you, Michael. That was a pleasure. Enjoy yourself.
What is it with Hugo Weaving and bailing on blockbuster franchises? Between the Red Skull and Megatron, this guy has some serious commitment issues. Just take the paycheck, man. But hey, at least it gave Welker the chance to step back into Megatron's shoes so fans could hear he and Cullen battle it out once more.
We were brothers once. Once.
And while we're on the subject of audio, I've got to give a quick shout out to the music. The original animated series didn't have much going for it in the way of music, besides, of course, the iconic theme song. And while the 1986 movie definitely had a track or two, its greatest legacy is probably giving Dirk Diggler his debut single.
You got the touch. You got the
Arise, Rodimus Prime. Optimus.
In modern cinema, the score seems more and more like an afterthought, but I was blown away when I first experienced Steve Jablonsky's soundtrack for Transformers. And to this day, I still get goosebumps when the Autobots land on our planet. The score has stuck with me more than any other OST in the last 2 decades. We've had 20 MCU movies, and not one has a theme that slaps even remotely as hard as Arrival to Earth. I may be biased because I'm also a huge Metal Gear fan, and the score has a lot of similarities to Jablonsky's work on Sons of Liberty. But either way, the soundtrack is better than it has any right to be. I will admit that Linkin Park was kind of a strange choice to close out the movie with, but hey, throw some Optimus Prime voice over it, even Carly Rae Jepsen would sound epic.
We are here. We are waiting.
The movie can be crass and cheesy, but the soundtrack is nothing but class, and it helped elevate material that was never that highbrow to begin with. Look, you know what you're getting when you buy a ticket to a Michael Bay movie. You're getting action, explosions, exploitation, and really good-looking cars. That was all I hoped for in 2007, and while I could have done with less of the wacky wikis,
Judy.
Was I No, Mom!
Zip it, okay?
No, I don't masturbate!
That's not something for you to bring up.
it met my expectation and then some. My biggest beef was the busy bot designs, but even then I get what they were going for. The Cybertronians were designed to transform without too much cheating, i.e. Prime's disappearing trailer and Megatron's shrinking down to fun-sized gun size. The complex constructions were built to show off the movie's crazy CGI. It took up to 38 hours to render a single frame, but shots like the 20-second transformation of Optimus Prime still blow me away today. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of problems with these movies, but they're not without precedent within Transformers history. Through our nostalgia goggles, the original run seems like this epic, serious saga, but believe me, it's not all.
One shall stand, one shall fall.
Many of the issues people have with Bayformers were present from day one, like its focus on human characters. It never bothered me in the movies because, hey, I'm always happy to see John Turturro get a paycheck.
So what do you kids know about aliens, huh?
And it is bizarrely fascinating to hear highfalutin actors like Frances McDormand and Sir Anthony Hopkins, talking about Cybertron and Dinobots.
Bit of a shock, isn't it?
Besides, the wikis are all over the original show, along with mad scientists, whiz kids, and plenty of racist stereotypes.
This looks like a cool place to kick it.
What is that? How do you learn to talk like that?
The Bay films rightfully get a lot of flack for offensive characters like the buck-toothed twins and draping Winston Churchill's birthplace in Nazi regalia. But Generation 1 was pretty insensitive too, from its sole Hispanic representation being an obnoxious breakdancer to naming a fictional Arab kingdom Karbamia. An act so egregious that Lebanese voice actor Casey Kasem quit the show in protest. What about the Bayformers' atrocious sense of humor? Well, the old shows never quite reached the levels of robo-testicles and golden showers, but need I remind you of the existence of Wheelie?
Picture you not, no fool you not.
Or the time that Rhinox saved the world with a devastating Energon fart? How about product placement? Yes, the living Xboxes and Mountain Dew machines in the movie are a bit much, but come on, this ain't Mac and me. And besides, the entire purpose of Transformers is product placement. This is the same franchise that brutally killed 90% of its beloved characters in one fell swoop just to get a few new figures on the shelf.
What did he say his name was?
Galvatron.
You gotta pay the bills if you want to keep your franchise alive after all, which brings us to maybe the most important legacy of the Michael Bay films. They saved Transformers. Before the movie released in 2007, Transformers was in a bit of a rut. From their debut in 1984, they never really went away, but they also never reached the same heights of popularity as the initial craze, with the exception of the amazing Beast Wars, of course. But in the run-up to the movie, the most recent Transformers media was Armada, a so-so animated series that kicked off the very mediocre Unicron trilogy, which was basically just Hasbro's shameless attempt to ride on Pokemon's coattails. Then the movies hit, and they hit big. So far, the series has raked in over $4 billion, creating a ton of new fans and bringing Transformers back into pop culture prominence. Even if you can't stand the movies, you should be glad they exist, because the newfound popularity led to awesome TV shows like Transformers Animated and Transformers Prime, not to mention the incredible War for Cybertron games, a bunch of comics, and oh yeah, dozens upon dozens of amazing new toys. Without the movies, Transformers could have gone the way of Masters of the Universe, which, despite several failed attempts, has never really had that successful comeback, at least until the recent She-Ra show. Kids today just aren't the same as they were in the 80s with their smartphones and Fortnites and TikToks and what have you. To stay relevant, a series has to evolve along with them. Just look at the Ninja Turtles, a franchise that started the exact same year as the Transformers, and how they're constantly changing their approach and style to stay fresh and popular 30 years after the first wave of Turtle Mania. Now, not every incarnation will be a winner, like Bay's own Ninja Turtles movie from 2014, but honestly, I didn't hate that one either, although the sillier sequel was superior in pretty much every way. I can't say the same about Transformers though, because the franchise definitely spiraled into self-indulgent insanity after the first film. But that's why I'm really looking forward to Bumblebee. Well, that and
John Cena!
Obviously. Rumor has it that it's going to be the last film in the Bayformers series, and if that's true, then it looks to be going out on a good note, stripping away the excess that Bay saddled on the franchise, telling a smaller story about a kid in her car, and ditching their horrendous designs to be more in line with the boxy G1 look. I don't know what the franchise is going to roll out with next, but looking back on the Bay films, baffling, bloated, and bereft of logic as they may be, they are an important part of Transformers history.
Let's roll.
Thanks for watching, nerds. I'm putting up my flame shield for this one because I have a feeling you guys are going to disagree with me on whether those movies are good or not. Well, let me know. Let me have it in the comments below. What do you think of the live-action Transformers films? Leave a comment, let me know, and as always, please subscribe to Now This Nerd.